All right, so today we are actually going to talk about trauma responses, and I'm going to start with, you guys know I am not a psychologist by any means, but this definitely comes into play when we're talking about mindset. Specifically, hi Jill, I'm hoping, did we get Robin and Trish back? I don't know, hopefully. Anyway, there are 4 different types of trauma responses. Now, granted, there are probably more, but there are 4 in terms of this discussion. The article that I sent you guys, I had gotten that 4 different times. It was crazy. In the same 12-hour span of time, which is just nuts. But what things like that tell me is that that is an applicable topic that we need to address, which is why I shifted the live topics around. So next week, we're going to talk heart health, diet, and how that all relates, okay? And how to improve your heart health through diet and exercise and healthy living. And I know some of the messages it's going to be things that you hear, but I am one of these nutritionists and trainers that have been called out for doing the weirdest things, but they work. And if they work, then why not, right? So it's one of those things. If I'm being called out for it, obviously there's a reason. But if they work, why not? All right, so back to today. You guys know we've talked about fight or flight, right? The one thing we haven't really talked about are the other 2. Freeze and fawn. Now, in terms of this article, it was just fight, flight, and freeze. But in researching, making sure I was on my little tippy toes coming to chat with you this week, every time I looked up fight, flight, or freeze, fawn came in. So we're going to include it in this discussion because the one thing that I have realized in looking at things this week is this is actually applicable for a lot of us. So here's why the trauma responses even apply to our discussion. Simple weight loss, okay? Help making your life healthier, making choices to make your life healthier, right? To live a healthier life. However you want to phrase that. Those things come into play with or without our understanding of trauma responses. When you understand what your trauma response is, the thing that you fall back on, right? The things that are happening to you in that moment in time, you are better able to take charge of your health, take control, and start telling your subconscious what to do. Because as we have talked about in the past, our brain is trying to protect ourselves, right? It is very protective. And if you look at your brain like an overprotective mama and daddy, I didn't have either one of those. Not saying my upbringing was 100% perfect, just saying I did not have an overprotective mother. I did not have an overprotective father. I think they kind of felt like, she's getting herself into all sorts of trouble left and right, and it's out of our hands. So, and looking back, I don't really necessarily blame them. I see Drew climbing on all these things, and I in my head, I hear these stories. So I didn't have that overprotective, but I understand what an overprotective parent can be like. So when you're looking at your brain and you're looking at making healthier choices, what you want to do is you actually do want to use your conscious brain to understand and come into tough moments and say, wait, here's what's actually happening. My brain is doing this. It is responding in this way to try and protect me. But this is not a moment it needs to protect me. This is a moment it needs to work with me, right? So at that point, you have to be the rebellious teenager and go, no, I'm sorry, I don't think so. We're going to do things my way. All right, that's where these 4 trauma responses come into play. Now, fight or flight, you're going to fight to the death if need be. Flight, you are fleeing. You're running your butt off to get wherever to get to safety, right? Freeze. It is what it is. You freeze in the moment. And fawn. Fawn is, think of it like people pleasing, okay? Freezing is where you're really just, you're not able to do much of anything. You're just frozen. Whatever's happened, you can't think. You don't know which direction to go in. You don't know, you don't know what to do. And there are moments where that happens, where you legitimately just don't know what to do. The first day the boys were in NICU, I was getting question after question after question thrown at me. To this day, I don't know what the questions were, and I don't know what the answers were. I know it feels like this. That is freeze. It's where you know something's happened, but you just can't, right? With the freeze and fawn, you can also disappear. So your memory, like your brain, separates. So it deals with what's here so that you are protected, right? Another thing. Jeez, you guys. All right. So why are we talking about any of these? Because when you're dealing with inflammatory conditions, which is my specialty, and you're dealing with health issues, whether it is gut related or otherwise, trauma responses like freezing and fawn, they come into play. You go out to dinner and you know you've been getting sick for a while, but the doctors they don't know what's going on yet, right? And I always say you don't wait for a diagnosis to incorporate healthier choices, right? Because a healthier body actually opens the path to diagnosis. What I teach does not get you a diagnosis. What it does is it gets your body into a place where it is no longer able to hide the malfunction. It is no longer able to hide the imbalance, because everything else that you can possibly put into balance and create a healthier ecosystem for, environment, functionality, is operating efficiently, right? So now the only thing that's not is the part that is broken. For lack of a better word, is the part that's broken. And once you set eyes on the part that is broken, even if you are frozen, even if you are in that people-pleasing mode, you are still able to heal, because now you have help from the outside world. All right, so with these 4 responses, so our acute stress response, the reason why we hear all about it all the time is it's the basics, right? We flee or we fight. That's the basics. When you go into freeze and fawn, it's a little bit more in depth. It's something that people are not as familiar with, so it doesn't seem like anything, right? Have you ever done this? You've gone out to dinner, right? And this is where I was starting to go a few minutes ago. So you go out to dinner, you're with friends, right? And you know you've been getting sick for a while, but you don't really know what from. So you order regular stuff, something you've eaten 100 times before, right? No big deal. So you think. 2 bites in, you realize this is not going to work. Whatever's happening, those 2 bites, you've got cramping in your stomach, you're sick, and all you want to do is sit and vomit up what you just ate. But you're around a table of your friends. You don't want to feel like an outcast, or you don't want attention on you, or you just don't want them to worry. Whatever the case may be, we've been there. All of us have been there. So you excuse yourself because you need to check yourself in and just figure out what to do. That's fawning. 9 times out of 10, when someone is trying to figure out what they're dealing with, that's what happens. It's happened to me God knows how many times. And eventually I was just like, you know what? I just can't. You guys are just going to hear it. I'm going to have to send my food back. And after a while, you do get used to sending your food back. I don't like it. I hate it. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But, you know, in reality, if you think about the way that a line works in a restaurant, they're used to patterns. It's automatic. It's right? They're just doing their job. And now you've thrown a kink in their operation. Same exact thing you're dealing with, right? Different topic, different subject, but same exact thing. So when that happens, a lot of times it's easier just to get into that people-pleasing mode and just be like, I'm good. I have had moments where I have frozen. Simply because an English muffin has shown up with something that looks like butter. And it's not, it's soy, which I never mentioned the soy issue, but can't do that either. So, you know, you freeze in those moments, and the reason is because your trauma response is now taken over. Okay? These are the ones that your brain creates a habit from. Fight or flight is just you fight or you flight, it's over, it's done, adrenals move on, right? Your stress response is now quieted and you move on to regular life. With freeze and fawn, those are things that stick around and they become habit. So if you go out and you don't know what's making you sick, you just know you're sick and you haven't really gotten that shift yet, you haven't shifted into a healthier lifestyle yet fully, or you're just starting, so it's just not there yet. When you're used to getting sick every time you eat, you just kind of go with it because you don't know what to eat. And then you're sitting at a table looking at a menu, or you're sitting at home trying to figure out what groceries to buy, but you don't know what to buy, right? When that happens more than 3 times, you have created a habit. It is a pattern that your brain now recognizes. And in your subconscious, your brain is now going to try and help you. It's going to try and protect you. So, and, you know, looking at this week, I'm like, it's kind of doing a disservice not to put these out as much as they need to be out. When you're looking at a stress response, right? When you're looking at that habit building, it becomes harder, much harder, to consciously look at a situation and say, okay, wait, this is what's happening. So part of what you want to do prior to going into any of those situations, if you notice that something like this has happened more than 3 times, even if you don't feel like it's a habit, you may not recognize it. That's the thing about fawning and freezing. It's not necessarily something that your conscious brain recognizes. I can tell you, looking back on my more traumatic moments in my life, I can see it now, but in the moment, no. And I'm sure you've experienced the same thing. You know, moments in your life where the trauma was enough that one of these things happened, and while you can see it now, in the moment, you weren't able to consciously recognize it. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this today. Because this is an element of mindset that a lot of times we just kind of brush over, but for some people it's pretty serious. So if you notice that grocery shopping, meal planning, going to restaurants with friends, now that we can actually start doing some of those things, eating in other places besides your home, if that's causing you any level of anxiety, any level whatsoever, that's where you need to put into place some sort of a strategy, okay? Once things like that become a habit, your stress response is going to be triggered. It just is. Even if nothing happens, your stress response is going to be triggered. And you can put into place other habits to help you manage those moments before they get into place. So let's say, restaurant's a good thing. It's an easy example. Let me just put it that way. So you drive to the restaurant. Let's say the restaurant's 5-10 minutes away. We're out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, so they're a little further away. But up to this point, restaurants have always been within 5-10 minutes of me, right? I mean, granted, I'm not always going to those close restaurants, but I've always been that close. Yeah, we have restaurants out here, but So anyway, so let's say the restaurant's 10 minutes away. Okay, and you know that the last couple times you've eaten with this group of people, something's happened. So now you feel like the tightness in your chest. Your stomach's getting a little wiggly. Oh, someone's a little clinger. All right, so anyway, stomach's getting a little wiggly, right? A little uneasy. At this moment, you want to start saying something to yourself. Play music that hypes you up, that makes you feel strong, that helps you. Hold on, guys. There we go. That helps you in those moments to kind of hype you up. Do you know what I'm saying? So by the time you walk in those doors, you're confident in the choices you're about to make. You're confident in knowing that whatever happens there, you will be okay. That you've learned from the last few times. So when you choose the food that you want to eat, you're not going to choose foods that'll make you sick. You're going to be diligent. You're going to ask the questions you need to ask. And screw the people pleasing, screw freezing, screw all of it. I'm going with me first so that I can continue healing. So that I don't have to, he's standing at the door waiting for me to come give him a hug. So that you don't have to walk into that restaurant and the gurgly tummy and the chest tightening and, your shoulders kind of come like this. So you really can enjoy that moment with the people around you, which was the point of getting together in the first place. When you're hyping yourself up to go in there, you give yourself a confidence boost. And at that point, then your conscious brain takes over. That's where your conscious brain can take over. Happy, hyped up, confident, ready to take on the world. That's how you want to feel when you walk in that door. If you do not feel that way, then it's time to find a different restaurant. I don't care if it was your favorite. For a while, at least, you want to help yourself manage these responses. Because here's what's happened is, any stress response, your heart rate's going to go up, right? Heart rate, blood pressure go up. Your stomach starts going into knots. Do you know that the minute a stress response is triggered, that your digestion and immune system shut off? Completely shut off. So by not addressing those moments and trying to manage them by getting in front of them, you're doing yourself a disservice, especially in today's world. We've got COVID, we have the flu, we have colds, we have allergies. And here in Texas, we still have people claiming allergies when it's a cold because half the time, we don't know. I mean, I have heard people back home just be like, how do you not know it's not allergies? Experienced cedar fever 1 year. 1 year. I swear it felt like I had the flu for 3 months the first year I had it. And it's because of a freaking tree. When we go down to Austin, so it's a 3.5 hour drive, and about an hour from here is a place called Hillsboro. And I had to stop for that because I always call it Hillcrest. Thank you, SoCal. So we get to Hillsborough and you feel the allergies seeping into your head. So legitimately, there are people who have allergies who do not know if it is allergies, a cold, COVID, or the flu. There are so many symptoms that could be any of those. To allow yourself, knowing that you're trying to figure out what's happening, you're trying to figure out why you're getting sick, what's making you sick, how to overcome it, how to restore balance in your body, create that harmony so that your body can take care of itself. When you're in that place, whether you have a diagnosis or not, when you're in that place, it is crucial that you get in front of those situations, because when you walk in feeling confident and feeling like, I got this, you can't throw anything at me, I can handle, I'm good. When that happens, your immune system doesn't shut off. Your stomach doesn't shut off, because your conscious brain is now telling your subconscious, this isn't a stress response. Slow your roll, dude. Chill out. We got this. Your subconscious actually does listen. And when you're looking at long-term trauma responses from situations or incidents that have happened to you in the past, harm that has been done to you that is outside of your control, it's the same process. Before you enter any sort of similar situation, and that's if you understand, if you know that this is what you're walking into, you're able to get in front of it. There are times when you have no clue. It's part of the reason, this honestly is part of the reason why my programs last as long as they do. I always have had 3 months of good hard work, and then about 3 to 4 months, sometimes 6 months of backup work, because you're entering situations that you didn't enter into within that 3 months. So ultimately, I always say you have a year to heal, right? When we're talking weight loss and I'm just getting healthier without any other illnesses or issues present, that you're not going to have to worry about that. You're going to have the skills and the tool set to manage through the last 9 months of that full year, right? But when you're looking at anything that is triggered by an inflammatory condition, right? An inflammatory situation that is chronic, that is now created either autoimmune dysfunction, chronic illness, or sensitivities and allergies of some sort, intolerances, things like that, you don't know what the triggers are going to be, because up to that point, you might have only spent 3 months sick, 6 months sick, or, reactions sporadically that now all of a sudden in the last, 2 weeks have exploded on you and you just don't know why. That's why things take as long as they do, because you don't know what situations are going to cause a traumatic response, a subconscious traumatic response. When you're looking at fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, it goes all the way back to mindset journaling. And I get it. I suck at journaling, you guys. I suck at it. But there's something to be said for getting things out of your head. Either you talk and you get them out of your head, or you write and you get them out of your head. One of the two. So let's say you're going into something that is not a threat at all. You haven't gotten sick there at all. Nothing's happened. There is zero reason for a response to occur. Yet you're feeling that anxiety and that wobbly tummy and the head starting to hurt, things like that. It's starting to happen anyway. It's a perceived stress. So when our body sees something that's similar, our brain, our subconscious, our little overprotective parent, if it sees something similar, it is going to try its best to protect us, right? So if it's something similar, it's going to try and trigger the same trauma response as before. When you are first restoring balance, when you're first looking at autoimmune conditions and you haven't gotten a diagnosis, and I always use that as an example because that time frame is such a painful time frame for a lot of people because you know you're sick. The doctors have determined, okay, there's some sort of autoimmune illness happening. There's an autoimmune dysfunction, but they can't tell you what to do because they don't know what it is yet. There are well over 80 different types of autoimmune illnesses and dysfunctions. Some are labeled illnesses, some are labeled dysfunction. Depending on what medical field you are talking to, that seems to be the differentiation in the term used. So as you're going back and forth, and you know you're going into situations where you're feeling these things, you have to just automatically assume that your body is trying to go into that traumatic response. And at that point, you put into play your new habits. You put into play your confident habits, the ones that are going to help you overcome and manage. If you don't, you go into that traumatic response. Immune system shuts down. Digestion shuts down. That means that anything that goes into your body, if you are intolerant to it, allergic, well, no, allergies are different, intolerant to it or sensitive to it, right? Or if whatever you've eaten, you're about to eat, not you've eaten, but whatever you're about to eat, triggers a reaction to whatever inflammatory illness you're dealing with and you're trying to overcome and manage, you're going to come out of that situation feeling like you just got run over by a Mack truck. And dinner with friends and family shouldn't feel like that. And it sucks to say that before you go and have this wonderful dinner with your friends and family, you have to hype yourself up. But for a while, that's what you have to do. Ultimately, what happens is you do that often enough that your brain goes, okay, wait, we're going into this, we got this. And you don't have to do that anymore. Anything I suggest, a lot of it is temporary, because what happens is if you do this over a 3-week time span, 3 weeks, your brain starts getting the message. It starts cluing into this is how we're supposed to be, right? Give yourself 6 to 12 weeks, and now you don't have to do the hype up anymore. You've done it enough, even in this climate that we now live in, where we don't go out as often. You know, I mean, when was the last time you were invited out to happy hour? So when you look and you think about all of this, all you're trying to do is get in front of it for a good 5 to 6 weeks, and then you can let your brain take over. It's just like the cravings. And, you know, we talked about happy foods and the things that you can eat to overcome stress, to help manage stress. It goes all the way back to making sure that your inflammatories are out. Common inflammatory triggers: dairy, gluten, soy, sugar, plain old sugar, not from fruit, not from vegetables, sugar. And yes, honey counts. However, there's a caveat. If you're using honey in regards to trying to help your body fight allergies, for some reason that is minimal enough that your body doesn't process that as quickly, it's going to slow it down. So local honey allergens, it's almost like it senses the molecules that are inside that honey and understands that, okay, this is what needs to be in place, right? One of the things I wanted to make sure to mention is when you're going through life and you're trying to figure out what your traumatic response is, sometimes it's not necessary. Sometimes it really isn't. Understanding what they each are and how your body responds to them And whether it takes on any of these or not as a go-to, because we always have a go-to, right? Every one of us has a go-to. And our go-to stress response is directly related to our upbringing, the things that have gotten us to this point, okay? Wherever you are in life, it's everything that's gotten you to this point. Your body chooses one of the four as its go-to. If you already understand that about yourself, then you don't really have to do a lot of investigating or looking because you already know the information. So you can take that information, you can use it to put into place some habits, some new habits that help you manage the rest of your life. So that now you're going out to eat, you're eating at home, you're grocery shopping. For a long time, grocery stores were the bane of my freaking existence because I was newly diagnosed with dairy allergy, right? I think it was more of an intolerance, but I always say allergy because nobody in restaurants understand that. But I was newly diagnosed and I didn't know what to buy. There wasn't yogurt in the store at the time, except dairy yogurt. And I was in Austin, so like I could go to, Whole Foods, but that's going to cost me an arm and a leg, right? And like one thing of yogurt was going to cost me $3 or $4. I'm like, Jesus, you kidding me? And I eat yogurt every day. So grocery shopping was one of those things. And eventually I had to sit down and just put myself in check and hype myself up and tell myself, this is something you have to do. You have to grocery shop because you have to get groceries. So either you're going to grow your own groceries, which I've told you all how great I am at growing stuff, or you're going to take advantage of the convenience in modern society. I'm one of those people that needs to have convenience in modern society, and I'm telling you right now that if there is ever an apocalypse, I'm packing everybody into my car and going and finding my friend Kim, because that chick has something to help everything. And I know that when an apocalypse happens, or if an apocalypse happens, let me put it that way, we're not putting that in the universe, I know she will have the manual can opener. She knows how to grow stuff. I suck at it. But if you tell me what to do, I'll do it. You tell me I have to go water them today? Okay, done. See ya. Let me go do that. I'm a great little worker. I just can't lead that front. So when you're looking at life and you're looking at all of this and you're looking at, okay, this is what I have to do to live, because that's what this is. You have to understand these things, how they apply to your life, how your body is responding to situations that to other people may seem menial. They're not to you, and they're not going to be. The difference between me today and me 8 years ago is I understand now what I need to do before I go into things, before I go into a restaurant, before I go into, a holiday party or, a unique situation, people I don't know. I know what to do. My subconscious it's got its lessons in there. It's got 8 years of it. It's pretty good at it. Doesn't mean it doesn't still happen, but for the most part, I'm good. I can walk into anywhere. I can even go in. There's a restaurant here called Cheddar's. I can't eat anything in that restaurant. But I know if someone wants to go there really badly, and that's where the group has decided that we're going, I'm not eating. I'll eat before I go. I'm not going to eat. I'm going to enjoy them. To talk to my friends, to see my family, to love them while they love me. Just that exchange of energy within the table. That's why you're going out to eat. So if you notice, throughout all of this, your perspective changes. The way you view outings, the way you view grocery shopping changes. And it's self-preservation, because this world has vast resources for us, even with the shortages. I mean, in reality, if you look at America versus the rest of the world, we are actually very blessed with what is available to us. And everybody has challenges. Every single person has challenges. Ours just happens to be that when we eat certain foods, we get sick. So we have to put in place strategies to help our body deal with the trauma response it's going to trigger so that we can enjoy our time and minimize its effect on our body. So our body can keep functioning. So that we can continue to keep going out and seeing people and. Get it? All right. So hopefully this answers some questions. If it triggered questions, let me know. This is definitely more of a psychological conversation. I wanted to make sure to apply these topics to inflammatory conditions and things that you're dealing with. So if I have not hit on something that you were hoping to hear, or if you have a question that wasn't answered, let me know. I'm happy to answer it. All right, you guys, technical difficulties aside, it was a good day. Drew was wanting his hug, but you know, he is at that age where it's hug, 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 and then, ooh, I found this. So, yay for being at that age, right? All right. Go have fun. Have a great Monday. I will come back to you next week. We will talk heart health and keeping that heart healthy. And I'll have a few fun little tidbits for you. Some unique things that will make that topic not so boring. How about it? All right. Go be healthy. I'll chat with y'all later. Bye.